Hey, it's Jason Creel. This is the Lawn Care Life. What do you do when you got big, nasty properties that are just full of every kind of weed? Not every weed, but anyway, nasty ones that need a lot of cleanup. I'm going to show you the products that I'm using to clean up, and I'm going to show you how I mix them up and how I spray big properties like this in an inexpensive way to be profitable and to wipe out the weeds. Taking out a property like this, I mean, you got different weed, like here's some like cool season grasses popping up, and this is just a Bermuda. This wasn't sodded, I don't think, ever. It's just common Bermuda that's spread over the years. Lots and lots of Poa annua here in the yard. You got stuff like that. I don't even know what that's called, but anyway, you know, just grassy weeds. There's some clumps of Dallas grass in here, right there. So in this situation, and this is over 100,000 square feet, so I don't like spraying this with a tank and a hose. I want to ride on a machine, which is what I'm going to do. And I'm mixing up the chemicals in the tank. I'm going to show you the chemicals I'm using. I'm going to show you me spraying the lawn, and I can really cover an area this big in not too much time and be profitable and cheap and clean up the weeds. So why does this work, and why am I using these products? Dormant Bermuda lawn, I can spray it with glyphosate, which is not as cheap as it used to be, but still relatively cheap. And it's gonna knock out a lot of the grassy weeds and the broadleaf weeds. Now you think, Jason, if you're putting glyphosate in there, why, you know, what's the point of the metsulfuron? Well, believe it or not, this yard, this particular property used to have a lot of onions, wild onions, wild garlic, stuff like that. I don't see near as much because a lot of it has gone away, but the glyphosate, here's one right here. So the glyphosate, you know, doesn't work very well on onions and garlic, in my experience. So putting the metsulfuron in there, it's going to help kill a lot of the broadleaf weeds and things like that. Though the glyphosate would probably do that on its own, but it can definitely help knock out the onions, and it's really inexpensive product. So cleaning up the onions, cleaning up the grassy weeds, the broadleaf weeds at a very inexpensive rate, and you don't have to put surfactant in there because the glyphosate, a lot of the glyphosate products already have surfactant in the mix as well. So you got just the glyphosate, the metsulfuron, and the prodiamine, which has helped to keep a lot of the summer weeds out of the lawn, like crabgrass and things like that. This big lawn gonna look perfect in 2 weeks? Well, no, but I think it'll be a lot improved. And today was a great day because it's going up nearly 60 degrees. I'm really not concerned at all about the glyphosate damage in the Bermuda. If anything, I will say you may have to, when somebody told me about doing this one time, he said, you want to spray wall to wall, meaning the whole entire property. And what he means by that is it can delay the green up in the spring. If you sprayed it in the winter with glyphosate, especially if it wasn't fully dormant, you might delay the green up. Well, I've seen that where I've spot treated with glyphosate, trying to kill a patch of Poa in a lawn, and you spray it, and sure enough, in the spring the yard starts turning green. That area you sprayed is not dead, but it delays the green up. But if you spray the whole area in a situation like this, and like I said, I don't do this on every yard, it's just certain situations like this one, then you're not going to notice the delayed green up. I would anticipate there would be very little delayed green up on a yard like this because, again, it's fully dormant, 32 ounces per acre glyphosate. I don't expect any problems whatsoever. Okay, so here's the 3 products. Again, we don't have to add the surfactant because most of the time the glyphosate's going to have a surfactant in it. So the glyphosate is the active ingredient in Roundup. If you don't want to use it, you know, there's other non-selective herbicides. You'd have to check to see if they're labeled for dormant Bermuda. So I'm doing this on Bermuda lawns okay, and it's labeled for dormant Bermuda, so make sure it's dormant. And ideally find a warm day, and then what I'm trying to do is knock out a lot of grassy weeds. I mean, it's gonna, you know, work on a lot of different weeds. Like I said, most everything except for the wild onions and wild garlic. And then the manner, and so on this, I mean, one more point on the glyphosate. Now this is just a generic 41% glyphosate you see there. And I am applying it at 32 ounces per acre. So I'll show you how to do that. If you're mixing it like in a little 2-gallon sprayer, backpack sprayer, you might want to go just an ounce or 2 per gallon of water. Again, it's going to vary depending on how heavy you're spraying it. But again, I can recommend if it's got a lot of weeds, you're going to blanket the whole yard. Because you might possibly delay the green up a little bit. Now the manner, or the metsulfuron, is the active ingredient there. So you'll see there, metsulfuron. And so I'm putting that in at 1/4 of an ounce per acre. So that's a very, very low rate, 1/4 of an ounce per acre. And it comes with a little measuring cone. Let me show you that. So it comes with its own little measuring cone there. And it's going to be 1/4 of an ounce right here, this lowest setting, and that's going to be for an acre of grass. And I'll show you in a minute a little bit of the math, how to calibrate and figure out how much to put in a spray tank if you're doing that. Now this one is going to be very hard to mix in a 2-gallon sprayer because, like I said, 1/4 of an ounce covers an acre, so it's going to be just a tiny, tiny amount to go in a 2-gallon spray or something like that. And then Resolute, this is the active ingredient prodiamine there. That's what I'm putting out to. This is my pre-emergent, so I'm trying to get ahead of the summer weeds like crabgrass and other things like that, which in our area typically germinate late February, early to mid-March, you know, somewhere in that, when soil temperatures reach, I think it's 55 degrees for a few days. So that's going to vary year to year based on the weather. But what I mean is what I'm using to try to keep out crabgrass and things like that in the summer. So not going to have any effect really on any weeds that you're seeing in the yard right now. That's what the manner's for. And you could just go straight up prodiamine and glyphosate. Like I said, I'm doing the manner because it will help with the weed control, but specifically if you got a bunch of wild onions and garlic and things like that, it will help with that. And it's so cheap. This is one of the cheapest herbicides that I know of. So all right, so this is actually a pretty cheap combination altogether. I've been putting this out at 0.85 pounds per 1,000 square feet, and I've got a measuring cup for it. Let me show you that as well. So anyway, it's done by the weight of it. You can get in a liquid version as well, but for this one, it's 0.85 pounds per acre. Now, I think sometimes the mistake people might make, they might think, well, my yard's not an acre, so I need to take, let's say my yard's 10,000 square feet and that's roughly 1/4 of an acre. Do I need to take that 0.85 pounds and divide by 4 because I've got 1/4 of an acre? Well, I mean, you can, but that's not exactly the way we normally go about it. So let me try to explain to you. And again, I've showed this in other videos, and but you know, I've got this split tank here. So on this side, the left side, and this is a big advantage of having a split tank. So on the left side is 100 gallons, on the right side over there is 300 gallons. So when I'm spraying out of the hose over here, it's 2 gallons per 1,000 square feet. Now that's based on how fast I walk and how I've got it calibrated. But what I've been doing, like the other day when I was spraying, I had a right-on machine here that I'm spraying out of. Now it's only 1/2 gallon per 1,000 square feet, okay? So spraying out of the hose over there is 4 times more volume than spraying out of here. Well, what I'm concerned about is how much chemical is going down. You know what I'm saying? It's not how much water. So I can't mix it the same for this machine as I do for the tank and the hose. Because like I said, it's 4 times more volume over there than it is here. So I need it to be the same amount of chemical no matter what the volume is. Okay, so let me just show you. If I was mixing, so let me give you an example. Let's say I'm putting 300 gallons in that tank over there. Okay, I'm not trying to put the exact amount of water I need for my yard. I'm spraying a lot of yards. So I'm gonna take 300, I'm gonna divide that by 2 because I'm spraying 2 gallons per 1,000 square feet. And I'm gonna divide that by 43.56 because there's 43 1,560 square feet in an acre. Okay, so that means with that 300 gallons, I can spray 3.44 acres. Okay, now that's with the hose over there. That's with me at 2 gallons per 1,000 square feet. Somebody that walks faster, they might be spraying 1.8 gallons per 1,000 square feet because they walk faster. You may have your volume set where it's more liquid coming out. So again, this is for me and my race. So at that 3.44 acres at 300 gallons. Okay, now I got to put 32 ounces per acre of glyphosate in there. So that's easy. All I got to do is multiply that by 32. So I'm gonna put 110 ounces of glyphosate in that 300 gallons if I was spraying it out of my tank. Now I'm not actually spraying out of my tank for that. I'm using that for not for these cleanup yards where I'm using this combination. So what I did, I had that mixed up with some other products that I'm using for my normal yards I've been taking care of for years that don't need this wipeout combination I'm using here. So I took the small side, people ask sometimes, do I use the blue dye? So I'll put a little bit of blue dye in the small side so I can tell the difference when I clear I can flip these valves over. I can flip those valves over and switch the tank from the big side to the small side. When I switch it over to the small side, it starts spraying blue, and I know I've got that mix different. So I've got this small side mix for this machine right here, which I said is not 2 gallons per 1,000, it's only a half a gallon per 1,000. So let me show you. So let's say I filled that thing all the way up to 100 gallons, because that's what that side holds. Okay, so 100 gallons. All right, so let me show you the math. 100 gallons, not divided by 2, it's divided by 0.5. 2 is what I spray with the tank, 2 gallons per 1,000. This machine, half a gallon per 1,000. So divided by 0.5, divided by 43.56. All right, 4.59 acres out of 100 gallons when I'm using this machine. Now I'm gonna multiply that by 32 ounces of glyphosate. So I'm gonna put 147 ounces of glyphosate in this side. Okay, and this is gonna get it nice and agitated, and then I can spray it into the tank of the machine and go out there and spray the lawn. All right, so go back to the 4.59 acres. I can multiply that by 0.25, and 1.147 is the manner. Okay, so that's gonna be, a little bit in between 1 ounce and an ounce and a quarter of the manner. And you can go a little higher on the manner. I'm just saying that would be what I'd put in 100 gallons, and then I'm spraying it out of the machine, spraying it into the machine, and then the machine is what I'm actually spraying the lawn with. And then on the prodiamine, it's going to be 0.85, so that's 3.9 pounds of the prodiamine. So that's what I do. I put all that in the tank with 100 gallons of water, a little bit of blue dye. If I'm out spraying one of my regular customers whose yard doesn't need a super cleanup, I'm using a different combination of products in the 300 gallon side, mixing that at 2 gallons per 1,000 square feet. If I need to switch it over and spray a big nasty yard that's got lots of problems, then I can do that and put it in this side, and it's mixed up for this particular machine at a half a gallon per 1,000 square feet, and I spray it into this tank, and the machine sprays it out of these nozzles. Some people might say, well, Jason, why don't you just ride the machine all the time? I do ride it some of the time. On small properties, believe it or not, it's machine's not going to save you that much time. I've got a lot of small properties. Also, I like to get right up next to the shrubs as close as I can without getting on the shrubs, and sometimes that's easier to do with this hose, and I get excellent agitation in these tanks, and I can mix multiple products in there. So, I still use the hose and a tank. A lot of times I do use the machine. To me, both are great to have if you're in the weed control and fertilization business. I hope the video was helpful. I'm Jason Creel. You subscribe to the channel if you want to get into the weed control business. There are resources at lawncarelife.com, including a video course, the Weed Control and Fertilization Academy. There's documents, programs. Those things have pricing charts showing you what to spray on the yard, when to spray it. I've got the weed control cheat sheet. There's lots of stuff out there. lawncarelife.com. Talk to you guys later. Bye.